Photography changed. When I was in school, there was a whole building that ran pretty much 24 hours a day that I could go to. And as I got more senior in the program, I could have my own private dark room and I would set up shop there and be there, for a whole weekend, printing pictures and developing negatives and stuff. To run that on your own, it's expensive, it takes space, um, takes time to be able to dedicate. And I did try when I first got to Penn State, I got certain permissions to use their darkroom and stuff, but it just wasn't the same level facilities that had when I was in Savannah. So it was not that I couldn't use like a more like a less fancy system, but I would have had to bring my own chemicals each time I wanted to um, print or develop, and then the like get permissions to get the doors open or to have access for a certain semester, and then digital printing was somewhere else, and every semester was going through all these permissions. So it got difficult for me to make photographs, which really is what I was trained in. I take a lot of digital iPhone pictures. I love them. I think I take beautiful pictures on my iPhone because I still have a photographer's eye, but they're not high resolution. They're not always the wide angle that I would like or whatever. I really feel like I have less range with the iPhone than I did when I was a student and could, go check out a Hasselblad for a weekend or go check out a large format if I know I was going on a trip and I wanted to take, but I still work with it. I have a little tripod for my iPhone and everything, but I for a long time thought about getting a DSLR, one of the big time um, either Nikon or Canons that would allow me to do all this fancy stuff. But I really love analog photography. That is what I love. Those books by Angela Adams are like a part of my canon. The the negative, the negative, the print, the camera, the negative, the print. Um, I that's the part that I was totally into, and I did color printing and stuff, but even learning that, I always came back to analog black and white. That was really my medium that I love to work with. And when I couldn't do it as easily or frugally as I needed to when in grad school, I started doing watercolors just to be able to make some art. I was in part of a few art communities and engagements when I was in the Pennsylvania area. So I was doing like literally like little postcard size watercolors I call them gestures to just get ideas out quickly. And they ended up being the crux of my work for a while because they were cool, the way that I was thinking through Black female pleasure and sexuality and spirituality in a particular series of works called the Naked Church Ladies. Um, they got popular with audiences. Um, so then I had a studio, so I just started trying to play with other kinds of medium. Um, Collaging a lot because I was writing. Writing was such an important part of graduate school. Writing the way that I wrote was a fight against the tide. And I also had to learn and be conditioned in theoretical writing. So it was a very like exhausting time for my brain and for my writing graduate school um, until I really started to demand like a space for critical art writing. And you said word art. I like that. I don't know if I've actually used that phrase, but I remember one of my early papers that I wrote at Penn State. I think I was in Foundations of Art Education. I wrote a paper about some work that I had done with girls in the juvenile detention center down in Miami through Women on the Rise. And because we weren't able to take certain materials into the prison, like etching materials or even cameras, um, we were limited on how we could like document the experience. So I wanted to write an essay that I said I was painting with words, like painting the space and the experience with words. And since then, that's kind of taken off as my way of my preferred language of writing. Um, and since then, I've learned different things to call it, like performance writing. Um, and I'll cite people like Peggy Phelan, um, and my old professor, Charles Gorian, um, performance pedagogy. Um, and I've recently applied for jobs and things under the phrase of critical art writing as well. Um, just to explain it a little, it is a way of telling a tale as opposed to um theorizing, but it is theorized, like zooming out, putting all the pieces together, it's theorizing. Um it's a performance because a lot of times it just happens in the moments, like I'm sitting down, I'm putting on music, I'm getting in the vibe, and like taking myself to a place or a memory or um a feeling to put together this theory. Sometimes it's questions, sometimes the words are italicized, different things are capitalized. There's a poetics in every um part of how it's written and comes out. And I try my best to honor how it comes out, even though I might go back and say, oh, that was a typo or that doesn't flow so good. Like there's kind of a lyricism to it. And that's why I say for this particular show, Genius Species, I'm influenced by people like both Aretha Franklin and Nicki Minaj because Aretha's a vocalist, Nicki Minaj is a lyricist. And there's something to the rhythm of the voice and the cadence and the sequencing of words, especially to Black people, especially to people of the Black church tradition. Um, so trying to incorporate that in how I write, but thinking about how my audience is going to read it. And a lot of times when people read my work, they say they read it in my voice, like they heard me saying it.